I'm Starborn. Remember, to be a star, you have to shine your own light, follow your own path, and not be afraid of the darkness, because that's when stars shine brightest. The title of tonight's show has a lot to do with some new light, because just yesterday we had a fabulous new moon at 11 degrees of Virgo. And since Virgo is a very factual, realistic, practical earth sign, the title of tonight's show is Stop Kidding Yourself. Because Virgos don't like to do that, and we are under that influence. But it gets even better, because the sun and the new moon in Virgo yesterday at 11 degrees were forming a grand trine in the earth signs. And that has not happened in a long, long time. And so that sun and new moon in Virgo were trining Uranus in Taurus, and they were trining another another planet that has just moved into Capricorn. And that is because Pluto is now retrograde, and it has gone back to the sign of Capricorn, where it will remain until right before Thanksgiving, so just for the next few months. And since it is at the 29th degree of fate in Capricorn, which rules your 10th house of career and your public reputation and your long-term security plans, and that planet, the sun and the new moon in Virgo, are all trining Uranus in Taurus, which rules your investments and high-priced real estate and high-priced anything, sort of big money. Now that is why this is an important time for you to stop kidding yourself about things. And that is because all of the earth signs are very realistic. They are down to earth. They're practical. They count things. They know what they're doing. And so they're very good problem solvers. That's what Virgo rules. And Virgo also rules the traditional 6th house of your work and employer-employee relationships. And it rules the whole healthcare field. And it rules occupations which are of service to others, such as nurses, social workers, teachers, or people who serve the public, such as policemen or firemen or community volunteers. And so Virgo rules people who like to be of assistance to others. And since the number 9 is the number that rules Virgo, and that's the highest of all the single digits, it simply means that Virgos like to finish things. They're pretty good at being there at the end and wrapping things up. Even when everybody else quits, they're still there, making sure that they're doing their duty, because Virgo is a very reliable sign. And it doesn't seek the spotlight. It seeks to get the job done. And so this is why you should stop kidding yourself right now, because it's a little bit better to live with reality, don't you think? And it also could be a better way for you to hang on to your money, or for you to be more realistic about who you associate with. Because conflicts can still exist right now. And the reason why is because all 10 planets that are up there are in some harsh aspect. And yes, there is a grand trine in the earth signs. That's great. But there are other things going on. There are 6 planets still in a harsh T-cross among the mutable signs. So that means that sun and new moon in Virgo yesterday were opposing Saturn and Neptune in Pisces. And together these 4 planets are all being squared by Mars and Jupiter in Gemini. And so that's a little hard to live with, because mutable signs are usually very adaptable and flexible, and they can sort of see other people's points of view. But 6 planets in conflict right now, and they have been for a long time. And so not everyone is agreeing right now, and that's why it's a good idea too for you to stop kidding yourself. But the other 4 planets that are in the heavens are in harsh aspect as well. And that is because there are 2 planets that are squaring each other in the fixed signs. That Uranus in Taurus is squaring, it's at 27 degrees, it is squaring Mercury, which is still in Leo. And so, Mercury is the planet of the mind. It happens to be the ruler of Virgo, but it is under harsh aspects from that Uranus in Taurus, which means everybody's not on the same page, either because of gambles that they've taken, that's what Leo rules, or because there are some high-stakes financial affairs going on. But People are not agreeing about that. And then there are another 2 planets that are squaring each other right now, and they are in the cardinal signs. We haven't had planets in cardinal signs for a rather long time, but we've got them now, because that Pluto, which is now in Capricorn, a cardinal sign, at the 29th degree of fate, is being squared, unfortunately, by a wonderful Venus in Libra. And Venus rules Libra. It's very strong, and it rules partnership and peace and negotiations and compromise and beauty and art and more or less really getting along with people. But Pluto is coming up against that right now at the 29th degree of fate. Remember, it's in Capricorn, which rules your career and your public reputation and your long-term financial plans. And Libra, Venus in Libra rules the law and all legal dealings. So that conflict is going on as well. So these conflicts do still exist. But that doesn't mean that everything is unworkable right now. In fact, there are things that denote that change is still possible. In fact, change is guaranteed. And that is because, remember, last week we had 7 planets that were all in the last decan of their sign. Today, we have 5 planets. Half of all the planets in the heavens are still in the last decan of their signs, and 3 of them are in at the 29th degree of fate. And so we need to look at that, because the 3 planets that are at the 29th degree of fate, they've run out of room. They move at different speeds, but it all means when a planet is at the 29th degree of fate that something is on or over. And that is why you should stop kidding yourself about things. Because there is change coming. And it would be better if you looked at the possibility of change in your life in a very realistic, sort of no-nonsense way. That's what Virgo rules, and the new moon was just in Virgo yesterday. And so we see that Mars now has reached the 29th degree of fate in Gemini. And Gemini is a communication sign. And it is exactly and harshly squaring Neptune at the 29th degree of fate in Pisces. And Pisces rules dreams, but it also rules things that are hidden behind the scenes. And because Mars is a malefic planet, and it's also squaring Saturn in Pisces, but the exact square is to the Neptune in Pisces. And that simply means that there can be some very bad publicity that is going to be coming out about things that have been going on behind the scenes that have been hidden. And so bad publicity is on the way about things that are going to come out from behind the scenes that maybe other people didn't want others to know about, but that bad publicity is coming out anyway. And then the 3rd planet that's at the 29th degree of fate is that Pluto in Capricorn, because remember I mentioned it has retrograde back into Capricorn, where it will stay just until a little bit past the middle of November, when it will then turn around and go right back into Aquarius, where it will stay for many years. But right now, Pluto is at the 29th degree of Capricorn, and it is being squared, as I said, by that wonderful Venus, which is at home in the sign it rules in Libra. But because Libra rules partnership, and Pluto rules people in upper management who are pretty high up in large corporations, government agencies, or institutions, and remember it also rules your career. And so with this harsh square going on, it simply means that powerful people, or people in high places, or who are in upper management, are facing legal or partnership problems right now. That's what a square is, a challenge. And so they're facing legal or partnership problems. And it could involve both of the things. It could involve a legal controversy with a partner, or maybe ending a partnership. And so that is going on as well. But all is not lost. It just means that you can make modest gains right now. Virgo rules modesty, and Virgos never think that they're perfect, but they always strive for excellence. And so they're pretty hard workers, and they do tend to look at the bottom line. Virgo rules accounting. And so they're always looking at whether things add up or not, and they pay attention to it. It's a mental sign ruled by Mercury. They're always thinking. And so you could make modest gains right now. But they would not be full-blown, big, wild gains. And the reason why is due to lack of cooperation. See, that's what we're all going to run into. 6 planets in a harsh T-cross among the mutable signs, 2 planets squaring each other in the fixed signs, another 2 squaring each other in the cardinal signs. Lack of cooperation. So yes, you can still make modest gains. There is a grand trine in the earth signs, as long as you're being down to earth and practical, and you're being pretty careful with your bottom line. You're really watching the money right now, or you're taking stock of your career, or your long-term security plans, or your health, your physical health, or your mental health. That's ruled by Virgo. You could make modest gains, which is great. But the time to be kidding yourself is really over. And I think you should realize that. So you need to look real closely at who you're with, either in your personal life or in your work life, because healing can still take place. But there's a lot of lack of cooperation right now. There are a lot of challenges, and that is why you really need to stop kidding yourself about something. Either in your own personal relationships, in your work life, in your social life. Stop kidding yourself. Because the only thing that's holding up really beautifully is that grand trine in earth signs, and it simply means that if you are a little bit more realistic and practical right now, you could make some modest gain. You would still be facing a lack of cooperation, but that doesn't mean you couldn't move forward. It's just that it's not going to be a full-blown victory somewhere in your life, but who cares? You at least would be able to move forward as long as you stop kidding yourself. Okay, what does this mean to all 12 of the sun signs? Well, Aries, for you, it's good that you might have your mind on making a new start for one reason or another. Maybe you have stopped kidding yourself, Aries. That would be a good idea, because you could be facing some sort of legal or partnership problem, since Venus in Libra is opposing your sun sign, Aries, and that Venus is being squared by 2 planets in Gemini, Jupiter, which is a really good planet, and Mars. But actually, that Venus is coming up against a very strong Pluto in Capricorn, and so there can be a challenge, since that Venus, it's a little bit under fire, and it is opposing your sun sign, and that means you need to take another look at your career, Aries, and stop kidding yourself, either about who you're associating with in your career, or what your career goals are. Maybe they need to be modified in some way, and also, if there is a partnership or a legal problem, you may not be on the winning end of it right now, Aries. And so what else could happen? Well, modest gains are possible. You may decide, okay, you can't get everything you want, but you could compromise. You could begin to start going in a new direction. Mercury in Leo is trining your sun, which is good. But I would say that you ought to contemplate taking baby steps, and maybe before you can even make a successful step toward a new beginning, you will have to settle a partnership or legal matter right now that is connected to your career or your public reputation or your long-term financial plans. And so you really need to stop kidding yourself about something, Aries, and I would say it would be very smart of you to settle for less now in order to make a gain toward a new beginning that could be better off for you. Sometimes there's nothing wrong with throwing in the towel if it gives you the freedom to go where you want to go. So I just think that there are better days ahead, Aries, but you really have to stop kidding yourself about something. You will not be on the winning end of a legal matter or a partnership issue right now. So if I were you, I would compromise or give in, and then just close the door and go on your own way anyway. Good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Taurus? Taurus. Well, Uranus is in your sign, and the good news is that the sun and new moon yesterday and today are still trining your sun, Taurus, and Pluto has retrograded into Capricorn, and it too is trining your sun sign where you have Uranus. The problem is that yours is a fixed sign. Okay, So there's a harsh square going on in fixed signs. That Uranus in your sign is being harshly squared by Mercury in Leo right now. What does Leo rule? Gambles. And it rules a lot of fun. It rules sports and leadership and having a good time. It rules children. And the problem is yours is a fixed financial sign. And other people have different ideas of how they want to live their life, and that can be in conflict with what you want to do or what you want to pay for. And you may not want to pay, or you might be on the losing end of a gamble right now. And you may not want to pay for what other people want to do. You may, since there is a grand trine in earth signs, you may be right at the point where you are ready to stop kidding yourself, and you want to watch your bottom line. You want to be in control of your own money. And this is a rare time when there is a grand trine in the earth signs. As long as you look at who you're with, as long as you're examining your work relationships and also people in your private life or your personal life, and if you're happy with the way things are going, fine. But if other people have different ideas than you, they're going to stick to their ideas, Taurus. So I wouldn't come up against that. I think you should just sort of withdraw a little bit right now, sort of while the stars are with you, and think a little bit more about your financial future and your career. Remember, Pluto is trining your sun now. Well, it had been doing that for almost 20 years until it went into Aquarius. Well, this is a pretty good time for you, Taurus, to think about your own career plans or your what you want to do with your retirement. I would think a little bit more long-term right now. You can't please everybody, Taurus. This is a really optimum time for you to think just what you want. Not what other people want, but just what you want and how you can pay for it and where you're going. And I would stick to that because your sign has backup for something like that. But otherwise it's being challenged. And other people can want to do things that are wildly expensive. You may not be too crazy about paying for that right now, Taurus, and I wouldn't be if I were you. You have to be able to afford your own life first. And this is a very good time to concentrate on that successfully. So that's why I would withdraw if I were you. And just concentrate on what you've got and how long it'll last. And where you want to go. Because, you got to have enough to pay for your own life first, Taurus. And I'm sure you agree with that. So this is a good time to do that. Good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Gemini? Well, Gemini. Mars has now reached the 29th degree in your sign, which is the degree of fate. That means, Gemini, that something's on or over. And it could have something to do with communication or an easy transitional change or the way you used to think about people or the friends you used to hang around with or even where you live. Your sign rules neighborhoods. Maybe you're thinking a little bit differently about the people that are around you. Well, that's a good idea because we all have to stop kidding ourselves in one way or another. And I think there is going to be some bad publicity that comes out. It doesn't necessarily have to be about you, Gemini, but it sure could be about people that you know or that you've worked with or that you socialize with. And you could be a little bit disillusioned, Gemini, because Mars at 29 degrees in your sign is exactly squaring Neptune at the 29th degree of fate in Pisces, which does rule things that are hidden behind the scenes and secrets. And that's going to come out. Or there could have been a fond dream that you have, and I think your bubble's going to burst about that, Gemini. This does not mean that you can't still make modest gains, but actually the Sun and New Moon in Virgo yesterday were also squaring your Sun. And Saturn and Neptune in Pisces are squaring your Sun, and particularly Mars, as I mentioned, but they're also squaring Jupiter in your Sun sign. Well, now, remember I said that, okay, conflicts can linger, and there are problems to be overcome, but everybody can make a modest gain right now. And the reason you can, Gemini, is because Jupiter is in your sign and it is being trined by Venus in Libra. And Venus rules Libra. It's very strong there. It's near the start of the sign. It's going to be trining Jupiter in your sign for quite a while now. And that means that the people that you really care about, or a legal matter, or a partnership issue, it's going to work out a little better than you think, Gemini, despite everything else that's going wrong, despite the bad publicity that's coming out about things that were hidden behind the scenes. As long as you weren't hiding anything behind the scenes, you don't have to worry. It's not going to be about you, Gemini. But you may be sadly disillusioned when you find out what was really going on behind the scenes, perhaps by people that you had previously admired. And so you're going to have to face a little bit of disappointment, but on the other hand, you yourself are going to benefit from a partnership or a legal issue that comes up, or an invitation to join something that could be quite amicable for you. So there, you see what I mean? Modest gains are possible, but the reason why they have to be modest gains is because of so much lack of cooperation. And for your case, there's also going to be some bad publicity coming out about somebody around you that is going to disillusion you, but better to know the truth, Gemini. That's why we all have to stop kidding ourselves, including you. So try to do that, and then try to benefit from the fact that the two best planets in the heavens, Venus and Jupiter, are trining your sun, or they're in your sun sign. That's going to give you a real good edge, Gemini, so I look up and keep going. All right, what does it mean to a Cancer? Well, Cancer. Well, the moon was in your sign last week, trining that Neptune in Pisces, so that could have been great for you being able to move forward on something that was your real heart's desire, or even a secret dream of yours. And you may have been able to mend some fences, and that would have made you feel better, and everybody else as well, so that's great. But this week, wonder the new moon in Virgo, which sextiles your sun, Cancer. It doesn't square your sun. There's not a harsh aspect. The sun and new moon in Virgo yesterday and today are sextiling your sun, and a sextile represents opportunity. So you really have a very good opportunity right now, Cancer, to sort of look at the bottom line, or look how you're spending your money, or look at what your career, where your career is headed. And particularly, you need, along with everyone else, to stop kidding yourself either about people in your personal life, or in your work life, or in your social life. And you need to, one good question you could ask yourself, since Cancer is a sign that rules our emotions and it rules endings, it simply means that Cancer, you might want to ask yourself, well, how many people in my life do I want to still be knowing 20 years from now? How many people in my life do I think can go the distance with me? Well, that's going to shorten your list of people you really care about, Cancer, because not everyone's going to want to go your way or do what you want to do, but some people are. And so when the bad publicity comes out about something that was going on behind the scenes, in a way, Cancer, that will affect you favorably. And let me explain why. It is that Jupiter and Mars are in, remember the sun and new moon in Virgo are sextiling your sun. Jupiter and Mars in Gemini are doing the same thing. They're sextiling your sun. But that Mars, by itself at the 29th degree, right behind your sun sign, Cancer, is squaring Neptune in Pisces right now, and it's also at the 29th degree. You could be a little bit disillusioned and disappointed by news about people that is going to come out, bad publicity about them that is going to come out. It had been hidden for a while, and it's going to come out. And Gemini rules the public, and it simply means the public isn't buying something anymore. And so, you know, if you had been sort of wishing on a star and wanting things to turn out really well, and of course a Cancer would always want that, particularly for their family or their country. The United States is ruled by Cancer. That's fine. But at the same time, all of us need to stop kidding ourselves about who is in our personal life and what they mean to us, and who is in our professional or work life, and in our social life. Because there is so much lack of cooperation right now that we all need to stop and ask ourselves, who is our real friend? Who are the people we can trust and count on? And where are they going to go in their lives? And are they going to be around, Cancer, you should say, is somebody going to be around when I need them? Because Cancers are the kind of people that are always there for others when others need them. But who will still be there when you need them, Cancer? If you stopped and asked yourself that question, I think you would stop kidding yourself about a lot of people that you've been associating with that are only there, it's sort of like as they're passing through. Well, that isn't good enough. Your sign rules endings. I think you are going to have to end something or some relationship, possibly more than one, that has been a disappointment to you. And let it go. And the reason why is because we can all still make modest gains right now. That Sun and New Moon in Virgo sextile your Sun, representing an opportunity for you to improve the things that Virgo rules. Virgo rules accounting, so you could improve your bottom line, Cancer, by being a little bit more practical and frugal. And then Virgo rules our health and our mental and physical health. Maybe you could improve that right now and have some good opportunities to do that. That would work out well for you. And so you need to quit kidding yourself about the things that you've been looking at with rose-colored glasses on. And take a look at reality, Cancer. Because that's where trust and love come from. They don't come from a grand show. They don't come from phony acts. They don't come from other people riding your coattails. Ask yourself, who do you want to go the distance with? And who would be willing to go the distance with you? Or are there a few phonies around, a few hanger-ons that are wanting you to do things for them, but possibly they would not be quite so willing to do anything for you? Now that's not even a friend, Cancer. That's just somebody who might be taking up your time, filling your days, but not necessarily somebody you can trust or rely on in the end. And your sign rules endings. So you got to quit kidding yourself somewhere in your life. And I would say just look into your heart, your real quiet, peace-loving heart, and have a conversation with your heart. That'll tell you what will work for you and who and what won't work for you. And give it a go. All right, what does it mean to a Leo? Well, Leo, Mercury is in your sign today. It's the only planet in a fire sign today, and it is being squared harshly by Uranus in Taurus. So, since your sign rules gambling, Leo, and it does rule extravagance, Leos like to spend money. They like to look good. They like to have a good time. And they're very generous. They like other people to have a good time, too. But, Leo, this is a much better time with Uranus, a malefic planet at 27 degrees of Taurus, a fixed financial sign, which does have a lot of backup, because there's a grand trine in Earth signs today, that you ought to look, Leo, at your budget and at perhaps, Leos have good taste. They like expensive things. They like parties. They like gourmet food and wine. But how much can you really afford, Leo? And the high life costs a lot of money. And once you spend it on what you would call things that, sort of disappear as you use them, like fine food and wine, once they're gone, And so possibly, if you've been consuming the good life right now, you may have to step back and figure out exactly how much that's doing to your bottom line, Leo, and you may discover that you cannot afford to keep it up. And Uranus has been in Taurus squaring your sign for 6 years. There have been gambles that haven't paid off, and there's sure one right now in your life, Leo, that hasn't paid off. And all of us have got to quit kidding ourselves about what works and what doesn't. Because there's a lot of lack of cooperation going on right now. And yours is a fixed sign. Fixed signs don't give up, and they don't budge. And Leos like to be the captain of the team. But you're going to have to look at who's on the team. Or you're going to have to look at if you want to be the captain of the same old team for the rest of your life. Or are you looking for something new too, Leo? You could be, because Aries trines your sun, and Aries is the sign of new beginnings. There was a solar eclipse in Aries this spring that trined your sun. There are no other eclipses this year in the fire signs. That was it. And so you would have been well aspected to go in a new direction. And I just am questioning who you're going to take with you. This is a very good time to stop kidding yourself about the difference between your past, your present, and your future. And Pluto is not opposing your sun sign the way it has been. It's retrograded back into Capricorn, but it's coming back into Aquarius, and it will continue to oppose your sun for many, many years to come. And Uranus is still going to be squaring your sun for another year. And so you really have to face facts about your budget, about your long-term security, and who's going to pay for it. And Leo, I wouldn't take a gamble on anybody else being willing to pay for it. You better think a little bit more about yourself, and cut your budget down to something you can afford. And hopefully you are going to put your investments on a footing where they aren't a gamble, where they may pay off down the road, rather than you just spending having a lavish lifestyle now. You have to think long term. The Grand Trine is in Earth signs, and Earth signs think long term, and so you have to do that too, Leo. And there isn't any other support to your sun sign. But Mercury is in your sign. It's just under duress, so you could make some modest gains if you sort of changed your mind and maybe changed your budget a little bit to be more realistic. So I hope you do that. Okay, what does it mean to a Virgo? Well, Virgo, congratulations. The new moon yesterday was at 11 degrees, so the sun and the moon were conjuncting in your sign, and they were setting up a grand trine among the earth signs. And so that would have been okay with you, Virgo, because the sun and new moon in your sign were trining Uranus in Taurus, which means you could have been handling or taking an accounting of your investments, and you may have been moving things around a little bit and thinking a lot more seriously about your pension plans, because Pluto went into Capricorn, and it too is trining your sun right now. It won't stay there. It's at the 29th degree of fate. You do have to do some serious thinking about your career choices right now, Virgo. And those career choices in some way are dependent on people in upper management and what they're doing. And so it could be your employer or your boss or your boss's boss. Or it could be, if you're working for a large corporation, government agency, or institution, policies can be changing. And they're changing because people at the top know they have to change in order to stay in business or to stay viable. And so you could actually benefit from that, even changes that your employer is making, Virgo, because Pluto in Capricorn is now trining your sun, and so is Uranus in Taurus. But you will only be able to make modest gains because there are too many conflicts among all 10 planets, with 6 of them in mutable signs, and yours is a mutable sign, squaring and opposing each other. Okay, so that means not everyone is going to be willing to cooperate with you right now, Virgo, and that is why you have to stop kidding yourself about who you're with, either in your personal life or in your work area or in your social life. You've got to quit kidding yourself about something, because there are changes that are happening, and they're going to be based somewhat on practical matters right now, like budgets and plans going forward and how to afford them. And also there's going to be some sort of bad publicity coming out about things that have been going on behind the scenes, and you will be affected by that, Virgo. Just like Gemini will be, because yours is a mutable sign. And so Mars and Jupiter in Gemini are squaring your sun, and they are also squaring Neptune at the same degree. Mars at 29 degrees of Gemini is squaring Neptune at 29 degrees of Pisces, and it's a malefic planet, and it's also squaring Saturn in Pisces, which is another malefic planet. And the planets in Pisces oppose your sun sign. You have the good planets in your sign, Virgo, the sun and the new moon. But boy, they could be taking a beating right now. Because Saturn, and so it's something that's been around for a while in the background of your life, you've got to look at a whole lot more closely, Virgo, because somebody could have been fooling you. They could have been taking you down the garden path. And you're going to find out a little bit more about them coming right up. And it can be that a bubble bursts, that something that you had hoped was going to work out just fine isn't going to once the truth comes out. It won't be about you, Virgo. It's going to be about somebody else. Now, if you're legally associated with somebody else and the publicity is bad about them, that is adversely going to affect you for sure. So you better watch who. This is time to stop kidding yourself. Watch who you are connected to, either legally or in a work area or a social area or personally, because there's 6 planets in mutable signs. And so other people are going to affect the outcome of your plans, Virgo. And with a grand trine in the earth signs, you need to concentrate on what is most important to you, and then ask yourself, well, how many people really fit? It's going to be a short list, Virgo. And the reason why is that it is pretty easy to take advantage of a Virgo, because they're so willing to be of assistance. So there's a lot of people that could have been riding your coattails or using you to get what they want. And you would have been complying with that, thinking that you were helping them, when actually they were just using you. And you need to take a real good look at that and stop kidding yourself. But it doesn't mean that you can't make modest gains. It does mean that due to lack of cooperation and having a bubble burst and bad publicity coming out behind the scenes about somebody that you know, Virgo, you have got to stop kidding yourself. And that's the end of the sentence. It's very important for you to do that. And this is a very good time for you to do that, because there is a grand trine in the earth signs, and that's pretty rare. We haven't had one of those for a long time. So all you have to do is sit down and add things up, Virgo. You'll get the right answers. Add up the facts. That's what your sign rules. The facts are not going to lie. Even if you wish they would, they're not going to lie. And you'll have to face them now, so good luck. You're in a wonderful position to be able to face what you might call the harsh truth. And be honest with yourself. It will do you a world of good, Virgo. Things will get better when you're ready to face the truth. Okay, what does it mean to a Libra? Well, Libra, Venus is in your sign right now. Oh, Libra, you can want the best for the world. You can be charming. Libras are always charming. And you could be talking to people and sort of getting out in the public eye a little bit more. That's exactly what you should be doing, Libra, because you have Venus in your sign and it's being trined beautifully by the other best planet in the heavens, which is Jupiter in Gemini. But Mars is also there, and it is at the 29th degree of fate. And it, too, though, is trining your sun. And so, Libra, this is a very good time for you to look at whatever is important to you. And what does your sign rule? Partnership, peace, compromise, getting along with people, having things appear beautiful, and having relationships that appear easygoing and nice. Okay, and you're well aspected to come out a little better than you have in the past on partnership issues or legal issues. Those should work out for you, unless we're talking about your career, or something that has to do with the government or a large corporation or an institution. Because you could be looking at things that you, no matter how much charm you've got, Libra, you can't win against them. And that is because Pluto has gone back into Capricorn this last week. It's retrograde, and it rules your 10th house of career, your public reputation, and your long-term financial interests or retirement plans, and it is squaring that Venus. And so you could still be involved in some sort of legal dispute, or you could be sort of not agreeing to changes in the law that are not beneficial or not as nice as you would like them to be. And you can't get out of that because of lack of cooperation. Okay, so Pluto's only going to be squaring your sun sign. Even after Venus leaves, it'll still be squaring your sun sign, but only until like right before Thanksgiving, and then it goes back into Aquarius for years, where it will be trining your sun sign. And so this is a perfect time for you right now, Libra, to clear up some problems that you would just as soon not face, because it's not fun to face problems, but you've got to do it right now, Libra. You really do. Jupiter's going to be trining your sun for a year, but Mars, which is an energizing planet, which has been benefiting you, it could have been making you more energetic about getting out and doing things, but Mars is leaving. It's at the 29th degree of fate right now, and since it's exactly square Neptune, it means there will be bad publicity coming out about a person or things going on behind the scenes, and we'll all have to just face reality. That's why it's so important right now for all of us to stop kidding ourselves, including you, Libra. But I think it's going to do you a world of good. I mean, you have your own ruler in your sign, and it's being trined by Jupiter. I think you just need to look over your career prospects and the people that you know who are associated in upper management in large corporations, government agencies, or institutions. And you better ask yourself if you want to keep knowing them, Libra. Not everyone is a saint, you know. Not everyone has, you know, greed does things to people. And I'm not saying that Libras are greedy, but people who rise to the top, they've got their eye on the money all the time. And that isn't exactly where a Libra is coming from. And you may begin to realize that now, that there are other things that are just more important to you. And happiness is one of them. And so you've got to look at the company you've been keeping, Libra, because I'm pretty sure there's going to have to be some changes. But I think they'll make you happier. So give it a go. Okay, what does it mean to a Scorpio? Well, Scorpio, this is a time, Scorpio, since yours is a fixed sign, that you are not going to benefit from the lack of cooperation that comes from two planets in fixed signs that are squaring each other. And so Uranus in Taurus is squaring Mercury in Leo. But Uranus in Taurus is actually opposing your sun sign, Scorpio, and Mercury in Leo is squaring your sun sign. And so if you've been doing any gambling whatsoever, Scorpio, it's not going to turn out well. Or it isn't, some sort of gamble is not paying off the way you thought it would. Or some sort of thing that you thought was sort of fun to do, or looked like a rosy picture, or even an extravagant lifestyle, you know. The bad news is, since yours is a financial sign, Scorpio, is that sooner or later you've got to look at the bottom line, and you've got to quit kidding yourself about how much money it all costs to live the way you've been living. And if you have been watching your bottom line really well, because the sun and new moon in Virgo they are sextiling your sun. And Virgo rules accounting, and it rules your physical health and your mental health. If you have been paying attention to that, and that sun and new moon are setting up a grand trine in the earth signs, this could be a time when you're getting a lot more serious about your health. And why is that? Because your ruler, Pluto, has now come back into Capricorn. It's no longer squaring your sun. It too is sextiling your sun and trining the planets in Virgo. And that simply means that you may be looking again at what career demands you have had in the past, or what friends you have been keeping in connection with your career who are in a large corporation, government agency, or institution. And you could be asking yourself if they're good for your health. And it could be the health of your bottom line, meaning that some activities could have been prohibitively expensive, or they are proving to be that now. Or a gamble that you may have taken is also prohibitively expensive because it hasn't paid off the way you thought it would. And so you need to stop kidding yourself, Scorpio, not just about relationships, but about something that has to do with your career, your business interests, who you're associating with in those things, and also your personal life, and particularly your own health, your physical health and your mental health, which I think needs some improvement. this is a good time to do that because the sun and the moon in Virgo are sextiling your sun. And this is a good time for you to decide, okay, what's paying off in your career, or who is important in your career and who isn't, because Pluto, your own ruler, is now sextiling your sun as well. But your other ruler, Mars, is at the 29th degree of fate in Gemini, and it is exactly squaring Neptune and Saturn in Pisces, but Neptune is at the 29th degree of fate. There is going to be some bad publicity coming out about somebody or something that had been hidden, that is behind the scenes. And that is going to prove to be disillusioning to you, even though Saturn and Neptune are still trining your sun. But the problem is that Mars is squaring that Neptune. And they're both at the 29th degree of fate. So the 29th degree of fate in any sign means something is on or it's over. And so, Scorpio, something is really over. It could be a dream you had. Okay, it's over. It could be that people that you thought were doing wonderful things, you could discover that, oh, there were other things going on. And if you'd been associating with them, that would adversely affect your reputation just as much as it's going to adversely affect theirs. You know, we're somewhat judged by the company we keep. And for people that it might have been riding your coattails or taking advantage of you, what are you still doing with them, Scorpio? People who are just taking, that's their way of life. They're not givers, even if they say they are. They always get the lion's share. And if people have been starting to do that with you, taking advantage of you, Scorpio, then something's really going to be over, because we all have to stop kidding ourselves, and you're going to have to look at the facts whether you like it or not. And it's true that fixed signs don't budge, but your sign rules survival. Scorpios are not known for going down with the ship. That is not what they want to do. And so you're going to have to cut ties with some people. It doesn't mean that you can't make modest gains, but the modest gains that you make now, Scorpio, are really going to be based on the cold hard truth, which you have to face. You are very capable of facing it, and that's because your sign rules survival. So you're going to survive, Scorpio. But when you see that there is a lack of cooperation around you, and that other people have their own motives for that, then what are you doing with them? Why do you stay? You've got to stop kidding yourself. Because it's not just your survival that is at stake, it's your happiness. So think about that. Okay, what does it mean to a Sagittarian? Well, Sagittarius, yours is a mutable sign, Sagittarius. Oh, gee, you've been going through challenges ever since there was a Grand Cross in mutable signs, and then there were T-crosses, and there still are now, Sagittarius. And that is because your sign is being squared by that sun and new moon in Virgo yesterday. That's happening today too. So something about your health or your bank book is going to have to be looked at a lot more closely, Sagittarius. You're going to have to look at the bottom line, whether you want to or not. And then Saturn and Neptune in Pisces are also squaring your sun right now, and that Neptune is being harshly squared by Mars and Jupiter in Gemini. Remember, Jupiter's your own ruler, and they are opposing your sun sign. So I think, Sagittarius, you will be affected in one way or another. Perhaps it will just be sort of like hitting you with a large dose of reality when there is bad publicity that comes out from something that had been hidden behind the scenes. And okay, you're not going to like that. It could be anywhere in the world. Sagittarius rules international dealings and international law. So I mean, it could happen in your own backyard or in your own family, but it could also happen on the world stage. And it would be bad publicity that comes out about something that had been hidden behind the scenes, or someone who had been hiding something behind the scenes. Okay, so that's going to affect you. But at the same time, you can benefit from a modest gain from your creative efforts, Sagittarius. Okay, and the reason why is because Mercury in Leo is trining your sun. It's the only planet in a fire sign, and yours is a fire sign, but it is trining your sun, and it is direct. It's not going to stay in Leo very long. It's going to go into Virgo too. But for right now, since Leo is a creative sign, I would stick to whatever you do successfully that is creative for you. I mean, Sagittarius rules the higher mind. Yours is an intellectual sign. You can really think of a lot of things right now. Well, why don't you try to be a little bit more creative about what you're thinking about? Or use your background, particularly your educational background, in some way to help you move forward creatively right now while you can. You see, the new moon means that we can make modest gains, particularly if we quit kidding ourselves. But any gain is only going to be modest because there's too much lack of cooperation around right now. But, you know, not everybody has to be a big winner, Sagittarius. If you can make even one step forward right now on something that you want to do that uses your fine mind and your talent, go to it. You can do it. Your sign has backup. Mercury is in Leo trining it. So even if you were only doing something creative and you're not at the end stage of it, I would keep trying it. Keep working on it, Sagittarius. That could turn out all right. You've got a fabulous new moon coming in your sign around your birthday this year. So keep going. And if things disappoint you, as I think they're going to disappoint all of us in one way or another, then that's only a very good sign that we all have to stop kidding ourselves and just look at what's around us. Look at the way we live our lives and who we associate with, and try to be happier. And I think you can do that, particularly if you use your creative talent right now, Sagittarius. That's going to work out pretty well for you. Okay, what does it mean to a Capricorn? Well, Capricorn, you have a planet in your sign right now, and it's Pluto. Pluto was in your sign for almost 20 years. Okay, so if you are career-oriented, which is what your sign rules, Capricorn, you could be benefiting from that right now. And since Pluto has come back in your sign, it's retrograding. It's at the 29th degree. There is something that has to do with the things that your signs rule that is either on or over. And so your sign rules your career. It rules people who are in upper management or people who are in large corporations, government agencies, or institutions, or just the companies themselves, the organizations themselves. That's your sign rules bureaucracy, and it rules administrative work. Because in a bureaucracy, there's a lot of administrators. You know, there's a lot of steps, a lot of policies to follow. You're very good at that, Capricorn. You have a habit of never skipping steps, but always taking one step at a time and persevering, which is the trait of your sign, and going forward despite delays or setbacks. And Capricorns know they're going to live a long time because Saturn is your ruler. Saturn is in Pisces right now, and it is still sextiling your sun. It's going to do that for another year. And it is being harshly squared by Mars at the 29th degree of fate in Gemini right now. And Neptune is in Pisces as well, and that Mars is squaring Neptune at the 29th degree. In one way or another, Capricorn, and I think it's because you know of somebody who is associated with bad publicity that is going to come out behind the scenes. I'm not so sure that you know this person, Capricorn, but you have maybe read about them in the news, or maybe your employer is familiar with them, or something like that. So I think that you would know about bad news that's coming out about somebody behind the scenes. But I don't necessarily think that they are in your personal circle of friends. And that could be disillusioning for you. But on the other hand, you are certainly going to benefit from this grand trine in the earth signs, meaning that this is an absolutely excellent time for you to be looking at your bottom line, Capricorn. And I would say that it is healthy Virgo rules health, and the sun and the moon in Virgo are trining your sun. And so I would say that the way that you would handle accounting matters or banking matters, Virgo rules banking, or investment matters, is going to work out in your favor. A little bit more than you thought it would, Capricorn. And I would say that if it was your career or your public reputation or your long-term retirement plans that you were thinking about, you would be somewhat pleased with them, particularly under this grand trine in the earth signs, which is good. So I think, Capricorn, you realize you're on solid ground, or the efforts that you have made over a long period of time in your career have put you on solid ground, and you know it. And that's good. It's a nice reminder for right now, Capricorn, because Pluto's not going to stay in your sign. Right now, Pluto is squaring Venus in Libra. So I'm not sure that legal matters or partnership matters are all working out the way you would like them to. And this could be related to a business or a career decision that you're making, or simply the cost of something may not be working out the way you would like. Maybe you were thinking that something was going to be less expensive, or else you were thinking of more money that would be coming in. And I would say, remember, there's a lot of lack of cooperation going on right now. People can make modest gains, but something that you thought was absolutely going to fall into place the way it should, I think is still going to be delayed a little bit longer, Capricorn. But that doesn't mean it wouldn't still work out. It's just that we can only make modest gains right now, and we really have to stop kidding ourselves about things. And since your sign is ruled by the planet of time, Saturn, I think that you should ask yourself something pretty important. First of all, Capricorns know they're going to live a long time. And so, going down the road of life, Capricorn, who do you want to take with you? Who do you think is going to make it as long as you are? Because I'd stick around those people, Capricorn. It's always nice to have friends for life, but it's very rare. And maybe you could look at who your real friends are, or the people that you really trust, or the long road ahead of you, and how important it is for you to stay on that road and keep going. So good luck, Capricorn. You are under very good aspects right now. If you have to do any problem solving, I would get on it right now and stop kidding yourself, or stop waiting for things to get better. Do what you have to do to make them get better, because stars are with you right now, so good luck. Okay, what does it mean to an Aquarian? Well, Aquarius, this is a time, Aquarius, when you could be feeling a sigh of relief, because Pluto isn't in your sign anymore. It just went retrograde, and it is right behind your sun sign, because it has now retrograde into Capricorn, and it is trining the sun and new moon in Virgo, and also Uranus in Taurus right now. And so that is somewhat urging you, Aquarius, to go back and be a little bit more practical and stop kidding yourself about financial affairs, investments, anything to do with your career or your long-term retirement plans. Since that Pluto is right behind your sun sign, it's a very good time for you to face the truth about all of that. And of course, costs are always going up, they never go down. And so you've got to sort of think about what you can do within the confines of a budget that is somewhat subject to the changes that other people are making right now. Okay? And so your sign is still well favored, Aquarius, because Venus in Libra is trining your sun sign, which means you could form a very beneficial new partnership, and also a legal matter could turn out a little bit more in your favor than you thought it would, Aquarius. It could. And then Mars and Jupiter in Gemini are also trining your sun. Mars is at the 29th degree of fate right now, which means you really have to decide something about your everyday life, because that's what Gemini rules, or what your everyday activities are, or who your friends, sort of casual friends, who they are right now, because Jupiter is trining your sun, and so is Venus. Those are the two best planets in the heavens, Aquarius. So you need to give a real good thought toward what you really like to do and who you like to do it with and what your goals are in life, particularly for your future. Your sign rules the future. This is a real good time for you to be almost attracting or picking up new friends that will very favorably affect your future. Because Pluto's not in your sign anymore, but it's coming back in by the middle of November, and then it's staying there for years. You may want to go back and ask yourself, that old idea that I used to have, could that work right now? Probably could. This is a good time for you to dust off any creative idea that you've ever had in your life, Aquarius, and re-examine it. You can stop kidding yourself about the way the world is, and it's more important for you to decide where you are and where you're going. It's really important because in 2025, which is only a year away, Uranus moves out of the square in Taurus to your sun sign, and it moves into a trine of your sun sign because it will go into Gemini. And that is going to give you the 7 happiest years of your life, Aquarius. So it's really important for you to stop kidding yourself about whatever you're doing right now and who you're doing it with, and get ready for your future to sort of take off in another year. And so who are you going to take it off with? Who are you going to be with, Aquarius? How far are you going to go? Your future is all you should be thinking about right now. So you may need to go back and sort of change things from your past a little bit, or drop things from your past a little bit. You know, your future is going ever upward. And I don't think you're very well prepared for that right now. Maybe you always thought the future was way out there, and for you it isn't. It's within a year. Soon as your ruler Uranus goes into Gemini and begins to trine your sun, you are going to be off and flying high, Aquarius. And I don't think you're ready. So you got to stop kidding yourself about what you're doing and who you're doing it with. And just ask yourself, who's going with me in the future? Or what can I do that will get me into the future? That's exactly the direction you're going in, Aquarius. And Venus is trining your sun right now. You could pick up an awful nice partner right now that would be quite agreeable. And then Jupiter in Gemini is trining your sun. They could be right in your own backyard, or they could be people that you've known since you were a kid. Gemini rules neighborhoods. And so look things over and stop kidding yourself. You might have been just treading water for a long time, Aquarius, but you're sure not going to do that once Uranus goes into Gemini next year. And Jupiter's trining your sun until next year. So you have to get ready. Good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Pisces? Well, Pisces, this is a time, Pisces, when something is on or over, and it will be disillusioning. It will be something where you actually have to face reality. And Pisces rules dreams. They're pretty happy in their dream world. They're always thinking of something better. It gives them the ability to rise above bad things and still see something good. It's sort of angelic. That's nice. But the new moon and sun in Virgo yesterday were opposing Saturn and Neptune in your own sign. But so that's too bad, because Neptune is at the 29th degree of fate, and Virgo definitely is an earth sign that deals with reality. And so I think a bubble has burst somewhere in your life, Pisces. And that is because Mars is at the 29th degree of fate in Gemini, exactly squaring Neptune, your own ruler, at the 29th degree in your sign. And Jupiter is in Gemini, also squaring that Neptune, but together Mars is squaring Saturn in your sign as well, and those are two malefic planets. And Gemini rules news, bad news coming in one way or another, Pisces. It doesn't have to be about you, but it sure could be about somebody you already know, or somebody you've already dealt with in one way or another, either in your personal life or in your career or in your social life. And there's going to be bad publicity coming out about something behind the scenes that had been hidden. And it's probably going to really hit you, Pisces. And so it could be disillusioning. In other words, you might have thought somebody was an absolute saint and absolutely perfect. And you might find out otherwise right now, Pisces. And so that could be disillusioning, but it's far better for everybody, but particularly you, Pisces, to quit kidding yourself about the people that you associate with in your career or in your personal life or in your social life. And it's like, what are you doing with some of these people? But a better question is, what are they doing with you? In other words, are they sort of living off you, Pisces? Are they associating with you, being just saying anything you want to hear in order for them to get what they want? That could sure have been happening for quite a while, Pisces. And you'll have to face grim reality. I'm not so certain it's about you, Pisces, but it is certainly about somebody that you know, or who has been close to you, or who has been a partner, either a current partner or a former partner, or somebody that you associate with in your social life, whatever. You know these people, Pisces. You know who they are. It's just you may have not known everything they had been doing behind the scenes. But it's going to come out, and it will be bad publicity. It's not going to be good publicity. Mars is squaring. Mars, that's not good. So Pisces, you will have to stop kidding yourself about what you've been doing and who you've been doing it with. And you will have to face reality. Now, one good reason why that would be good for you, Pisces, is because whoever you've been around or whatever you've been doing for a while could have been harming your health. Either your physical health or your mental attitude, your mental health. And that would have provided some element of sickness in your life, Pisces, or something making you sick or making you feel uneasy or sick or disillusioned. And that's not good for you. You don't deserve that. You know, every person has good in them, including you, Pisces. And, you know, it could be that other people were trying to do what they say is sucking up to you in order to get what they wanted, and they thought by knowing you or saying whatever you wanted to hear, it would surely benefit them and get them where they wanted to go instead. And it may have worked. But who was the victim and who was the victor? They might have been the victor, and you could have been the victim. And it all could have sounded just wonderful. In other words, you could have fallen for somebody's big white lie. It wasn't a little white lie, it was a big one. And you might have fallen for it, Pisces. But you have to look at the real truth. Somewhere in your personal life or in your career or in your social life, there's a real phony. And more than one, probably two or more than that. And you need to get away from them, Pisces, before they ruin your health and your mental frame of mind and the good you could do in the world. Maybe they encourage you to sort of let time roll on and waste a lot of it, and money too. Well, where would that get you except broke and tired? It wouldn't have gotten you anywhere. So you have to stop kidding yourself about how you spend your time and who you spend it with. And better now than later, Pisces, because I think somebody or something that you've been associated with has hurt you a whole lot more than it's hurt somebody else. In fact, they've gained at your expense. And you got to cut that out. You can't allow that anymore. We are all meant to rise. We are not meant to be a doormat for somebody else. You know, you don't need to have people walking all over you, Pisces, even if they say they're doing it in the name of love. Because it would have changed you. It would have made you somebody different than who you really are. And you got to get back to number one, Pisces. And I'm telling you, it's because you're worth it. In its highest form, Pisces rules divinity. And why is that? Because Pisces have sort of an angelic ability to rise above the worst things and still go on. Even if they've been hurt, they can do that. It's not quite the same thing as survival. It means that they have the ability to see better things. And you need to get back to your original vision, Pisces. You might have lost it somewhere along the way, depending on who you were associating with or who was using you. All in the name of love, of course. That's called phony baloney. And you deserve better. That's all I'm saying. All right. Thanks so much for tuning in. And thank you for the new subscribers. I hope you like the show and tell your friends about it. And until then, I'll just see you next week right here. Good luck. Bye.